I'd like to say thank all you people for being here tonight. Quite a bit to go over tonight. We'll go through it as expeditiously as we possibly can. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented. Second? I'll second. Is there any discussion? Under public comment, we need to add Mr. William Brown. He's requested to speak under public comment. Any other discussion? If not, okay. All right. Just explain what you want to do. I mean,
Land acquisition.
Okay.
That'll be B under old business.
B under old business, Commissioner Hogan wants to add surplus property. Any other discussion? That would be new business, right? Under new business, Commissioner Cox wants to add the 2018 volunteer fire department strength grant. I think this just came in this afternoon. Is there any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion by adding these three, raise your hand. All opposed likewise, motion carries. We'll put in when you talk to the fire department. Number 8. Okay, at this time I would entertain a motion to approve the board minutes of January 16th, 2018 regular meeting.
I said move with approve the minutes.
Second? Move to second. Any discussion? No discussion. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed likewise. Motion carries. At this time we have public comment. Mr. William Brown. You good? Approach the podium.
Yes, I'm William Brown, 649 Coal Ridge Road, and I still want to buy a piece of property that joins my property, and it connects with Horseshoe Road. I would also like to know what the tax evaluation was done in January. Reappraisal.
We haven't received that yet. We filled out the paperwork and sent it in, but I don't know if they've done it yet.
That has been turned in.
Okay, but I request one thing on the tax appraisal loan. I want somebody to come out there and walk over the property, not sit up there at a desk and look at an aerial photograph, because that is not accurate and it's not correct.
Anything else, sir?
Okay, I'd like to know if y'all gonna vote on it or what.
It'll be brought up again in later in the meeting tonight. Okay.
Quick question, Mayor.
Yeah.
Would that not be a county situation, or would that be a county situation?
That's the county for the evaluation.
Yeah, it's
We have no
not coming
control
out.
of how they come out and what they do on their evaluations. I don't think.
Property line, are you talking about the property line? It's not right?
No, he don't want to.
No, I'm talking about the reappraisal on the property, because you know, just like I do, that piece of property is not worth $28,000. You know that. You have told me that it didn't bring as much as you thought it should, but you said you wouldn't even buy it for what that was.
No, I didn't say that.
That is in the minutes, man.
All right, you have anything else about the property, Mr. Brown?
Is Mr. Brown talking about a tax value reappraisal, or is he
Yes,
talking about an appraisal?
tax value reappraisal. I inquired about it a couple months ago. They told us we had to wait till January to send us the paperwork. Bobby's filled it out, sent the paperwork back in. At this point, they have not done it yet, but I assume they'll be doing it soon. Only thing we received at this time, we did have the property surveyed, and we have maps of the property.
We have the meets and bounds, but we don't have the bounds on it yet. Anything else, Mr. Brown?
Yes, I'd like to say that Mr. Franklin right here was the town manager at the time the town acquired that property, and he knows exactly what I'm talking about.
Okay. Anything else, sir?
That's it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Under old business, senior kids programs, Commissioner Cotter.
I have had an opportunity to meet with several people on this. And my thought, I have a couple of different ways that I would like to approach this. And I don't have anything concrete for us because until I can actually find out what we want to do, I can't give anything concrete. But what I would like to do and what I'm looking at is along the lines of seniors, a rotating program, maybe an 8-week program where the seniors can meet once a week. And it's kind of like, I don't know if you've all seen like that 56 days diet or something like that, where we're looking at doing some kind of nutrition and health thing, and then maybe have 4 weeks of something fun. Maybe we can do some dancing or some cornhole or something like that, and then follow that up with another 8-week project. And in the meantime, do something with the kids, and then during that 4-week where we're doing stuff with the kids, partner that up with the seniors. So if we were gonna do maybe some like senior dancing, we could have the kids dancing with them as well, which will get the whole community together. I think it'll be fun for everybody. I think I can stay within that $5,000 budget and do this for the year. So until I can actually get approval, I don't really want to waste a lot of other people's time on this. We've got some good people that are really interested in putting a lot of energy. And I think it's really something that we could use to help bring our community together. Did you guys have any questions?
Do you have any ideas where these events will take place, or?
What I've been tossing around are different places, and I haven't contacted any of these places, but, you know, we have the park, we have the lake, we have the library, we have here, and if we can't figure something out that, we may be able to approach the church or the elementary school, and a lot of it's going to depend on how many people are actually attending these events. I don't believe that in the very beginning we're going to have a huge lot of people coming out, because it will just be starting. But there's a lot of places in Ramseur where people want to get together. Any other questions?
You spoke about the $5,000 from alcohol, right?
Yes, sir.
Now, you know, that was mentioned at the last meeting we had. Doesn't have where we're going to spend that money.
Correct.
Right.
And that's why, you know, that's one of the reasons why I haven't jumped in with cold feet. I'm kind of just testing the waters.
Okay. I just want to make sure you knew that.
I think it's a good idea. We'll tell you, we'll probably need to see something more concrete of the plan and what your intentions are.
Have you checked with
Like an outlay of what you want to do.
any other programs in any other towns or cities?
Um,
To see what they have?
I've checked with, yes, I have. I haven't reached out to Randomly yet. From my understanding, they do have a very good Parks and Rec. And again, you know, remember, I've only had just a couple weeks on this, so I haven't really been able to put a lot of concrete stuff into it. And I do understand that we need to vote on it. But again, you know, putting something concrete together requires a good effort and contacting a lot of people, and I don't want to put a lot of other people into putting a lot of work into something. If I could just get like an inclination of, yeah, if we can get something, we will go ahead and work on this, but, you know, I don't want to put the cart in front of the horse.
Carl, just one question, is it, and I apologize because I haven't looked at the budget to answer my own question, but is there any monies in the budget already allocated to Parks and Recs that you can use for this program instead of waiting on the alcohol money? Could we look into that?
I don't think there is, to be honest with you. When you sit there and you look at the Parks and Rec budget, it's pretty tight. And I think that with this stuff that we have coming up and the stuff that we're looking at doing, I don't think there's gonna be any extra funds for that. And this money's not allocated, it's over $7,000 from this past year's budget that has not been earmarked for anything specific.
Oh, I agree with you, I didn't know
I don't think
if
we
there was
have,
money available where you could just go on with it out of your department.
I think it's pretty tight.
Okay.
As far as
Can I
I-
answer that question?
as far as what I'm hearing and stuff, I would have a problem with it if we had a little bit more detail or outlay of what you're gonna do. I don't see where it would be a problem.
I think if you get a plan in place in our next budget, we budget those items, I don't think the board will have a problem approving that stuff. but,
Our
you know.
next budget's in July, June, July.
Yeah, but you got, I mean, you gotta go ahead and start doing the groundwork. If you don't have any money now to spend, it may be that you wanna go ahead and do that 5,000 with board approval from alcohol to get us by for the next budget.
Right.
And then in
right.
next year's budget, you can appropriate money for these programs.
So
Right?
what you're saying is get something more concrete so I can motion on the 5,000.
Yes, ma'am.
Until the next budget.
Right.
And I think we're all in agreement, we're kind of, we're with you on the need of the program.
Thank you.
Yeah. Anything else on that, Vicky?
Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, Commissioner Cobb. Next item of business, I think we added to the agenda, surplus property, Commissioner Overman.
Mary, do you not have the new agenda?
Who don't?
You, there's a closed session under old business.
I don't have it either.
It was-
We have on,
I emailed it to you.
I don't support my email, but. I'm so sorry. We need to go into closed session. I would entertain a motion that we go into closed session.
The attorney made a suggestion that we have this, we could conversation.
Pardon me? Yeah. Okay, let's do that and we'll get after this. If it's okay with the board, we have ADC people here tonight, Mr. Walter Sprouse, Chairman of ADC, Randolph County ADC, and Mr. Kevin Franklin. If it's okay with the board, we're gonna go ahead and let them make their presentation before we do this, because they may have other commitments, and we're gonna hold them up all night, so.
Can Tony Green make his presentation after them too?
Yeah, we can do that. And Mr. Green, when they get through, we'll go ahead and let you do your little part.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Is that okay with the board? All right. I would like to say that, I'm gonna call him Walter, but Mr. Sprouse, I knew him way back then. You may not remember me, but, he's been an asset to Randolph County, and he left for a while, and he came back home.
I did.
And he's doing a lot of stuff around Randolph County. And he's got a good man behind him.
Well, you know, it's always good, you know, to come here when you have Ramseur's favorite son with you.
Yes.
So that's the good thing about it, of course. And I always enjoyed coming to Ramseur, you know, to make a presentation. I do know that the one constant is Bob Wilhite, is still sitting right there. You know, so you haven't moved, so you're still there. But anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate the opportunity to bring you an update about what's going on with the Randolph County Economic Development Corporation. And Kevin and I were the sort of tag team here and talk about a few things. But as you know, our mission is basically to support a growing and a healthy economy here in the county, allow residents to have good, diverse jobs, and to try to grow this economy. So that's our goal. We do have a program of work. Our program of work is rather simple. It's business and industrial recruitment. We try to help out in any way we possibly can. One of the things that we are talking to the county about, by the way, is that one of the things that we're going to be doing is, and we're in the process now of doing a new website, because so many times we have projects, maybe these can get eliminated just because they don't have the right kind of information on their website. And so we need to update our website. We need to have our sites in our buildings, and all the properties in and around Ramseur and all the rest of the county, we need to make sure they're there so that the consultants that bring these projects to us will see it. And so one of the things that we are talking to the county about is to see if they would fund what's a program that would go on our website by by a company called GIS Planning, and they're out of San Francisco. They do statistical data, and they update the statistical data about once a month. I mean, it is up to date. And I've used it before in other locations, and it is outstanding. As a matter of fact, whether it's for industrial, or whether it's for retail recruitment, or if you need to know how many people are on a 5-minute drive at a certain point right down the street, and what the per capita income, how many houses, and all that stuff, all that, whatever you can imagine as far as data, they have that. It's our goal is to ask the county to provide that to the Economic Development Corporation, to put it on our website, so that the town of Ramseur and the Board of Commissioners can use that data that's on our website. That way, you always have the latest and updated information, and Liberty can use it, and Randall, and Seagrove, and the county, and everybody. In addition, it also helps us with our site selection consultants, so that they can do some research and find out the type of information that they need. So that's something that's going to be coming down the line, hopefully very, very soon. We also, of course, work very, very hard, and Kevin does, on our business retention and expansion. That's really the bread and butter of any economic development organization, is make sure those companies continue to thrive, where they are, and to expand. We also do, obviously, marketing and research and industrial product development. 2017 was as you know, a transition year for economic development. I was here earlier from like 1985 to 99, whenever I left. Went down to Augusta. Bonnie Renfro worked with me, and they were wise and promoted her to president of the EDC. And so she was there until this past year when she retired. And then they had a national search, and I applied for the job, and was very pleased that they hired me. So I like to tell people that in the history of the Randolph County EDC, we've had 3 presidents, but only 2 people. So we're back, and one of the things that really thrilled me was the Courier Tribune, whenever they had the story that I was, had a headline that said Sprouse returning to EDC, and then the first paragraph was Walter Sprouse is coming home. So that made me feel very, very well, very welcome. So, but during this interim time, I can't say enough about Lisa Bennett and also Kevin, because they had to step up to the plate. They had to do a lot of stuff there that just because of that absence of the president, and then we still had a board, we still had projects, and things were still working. And so Kevin's going to bring you up to date a little bit about some of those projects for this coming year. In the presentation here, you'll see that there's a lot of information, not only about, I think if one thing, if you notice the cover here, you'll see it's an international cover right here. 3 international companies with international ties now are here in Randolph County. A message from our chairman, Albert Lassiter, who is the Randolph Community College. And then you see some of the numbers down there. 365 new jobs created, nearly $160 million in new investment. 34 projects during the year, about 670,000 square feet of industrial real estate was impacted. But one of the biggest keys right down there is $5.6 million in grants that were obtained through the EDC with all that was going on. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin and let him talk to you a little bit about some of the things that were going on here during the year, and a lot of hard work he and Lisa did.
Good evening. Always good to be home. Glad to be here presenting to you this evening. So I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the projects that we had across Randolph County. And although we didn't have any of these landing specifically here in the town of Ramseur, these projects all still impact the town, impact our small communities. As you all know, we've got a lot of folks in Ramseur that drive to Asheboro, drive to Liberty, drive to other areas of the county that go to work. And then they bring that income home, and they spend it here at the grocery store or the gas station. So all of these things are important to us. So even though these projects weren't right here in Ramseur, Ramseur folks are working at these, working to apply to some of these, to fill some of these positions as well. So the biggest project that we had across the county last year was Fibertex. So this is a Danish company, and they manufacture a non-woven product that's used in applications such as diapers. This is their first North America operation. They did a broad search in the United States, particularly in the Southeast, and they ended up in Asheboro. That's going to be nearly $115 million worth of investment and about 145 new jobs in Ashboro on the location of the former Goodyear site, now occupied by the Thomas Tire folks in Ashboro. So we're really excited about them. We're excited about the opportunities that creates. We're excited about their groundbreaking, which hopefully will take place within the next couple of months, and looking forward to seeing that building go up and future expansion over the course of the next 7 or 8 years. Another project that we had that dealt with an existing industry was the acquisition of Acton-McCurry Corporation. Acton-McCurry, as you know, a legacy textile company, hosiery mill down in Ashboro, over 100 years old. And this Sri Lankan company, another one of those flags that you see on front of your annual report, was looking for a facility so that they could begin production here in the Western Hemisphere. And where did they choose? Ashboro, North Carolina. And so they invested heavily in the community, retention of almost 280 existing jobs, creation of 133 new jobs commitment, about a $20 million investment commitment. And not only did they come in and purchase that business and begin doing some renovations in their facility and start hiring, they also purchased another facility, another building downtown Ashboro that was being vacated. So continuing to invest in the community. Southport Packaging in Ashboro, creating around 20 new jobs, investing about $5 million. And during the course of that expansion project, their parent company, Interstate Resources, was acquired by D.S. Smith out of London. So that's the third flag that you see on the front of your annual report. And so a lot of great things going on there. Their building is complete. Their new equipment should have been here sometime last month. So hopefully those new jobs will be coming very soon. Edwards Wood Product, in 2016, they purchased Liberty Lumber just up the road in Liberty. And in 2017, they invested about $2 million and added about 18,000 square feet of production facility there in Liberty. Hughes Furniture, based in Randleman, it's almost as though they can't seem to find enough property. And they've continued to expand over the years. They're adding 103,000 square feet to their facility that they purchased a few years ago in Ashboro on West Central Avenue. So a great expansion by a Randolph County born and bred company there as well, Hughes Furniture. Ace Avant up in Archdale. This is a concrete construction company. They do large projects, really all up and down the eastern seaboard. They'll do concrete flooring, they do tilt-up walls, they do lots of specialty construction, and they outgrew their facility in Archdale, and so they're building a brand new facility for their headquarters and looking forward to moving in there very soon. That's about a $5 million project all told. Piedmont Custom Meats in Ashboro. This is a North Carolina company that was looking for an opportunity to expand. They'd outgrown their current production facility. It's a meat processing facility, and they found the old Yates Ham building down on 49 in Ashboro, which was built specifically for that type of purpose. And so they're moving in, investing heavily in creating 40 or so jobs in the Ashboro community. Sapona Plastics in the Seagrove area, out of space, and they purchased the former Lux Beans facility down in Seagrove, and are giving back to the community. Not only are they expanding their operations in the former warehouse building, but the cannery facility has been donated to the town of Seagrove. They didn't really have their own town hall, and their lease was expiring on that, and so they've got an opportunity now to move into a different facility that creates additional space options for them. So that was leveraged as a result of that expansion opportunity by Sapona Plastics. Crisco Machinery, also up in Liberty. They do a lot of hauling and rigging of equipment all over, really all over the country. Not a household name, but they do a lot of work all over Randolph County and well outside of Randolph County. And again, out of space for the equipment that they were working on and the equipment that they were storing for some of these companies. So expanding with about 10,000 square feet of new space up in Liberty. And then Pilgrim's Pride, which late 2016 and on into 2017, they began expansion of their, and actually putting back into productive use a feed mill that had been shuttered a number of years ago. And so these are the products that we love to see. An old vacant building put back into productive use, lots of investment, not only in the building itself, but and upfitting with the equipment that's needed to do all that work. So lots of exciting projects that we had all around Randolph County. Again, impacting our citizens right here in the town of Ramseur with job opportunities for them so that they can continue to live right here in our fine town.
Good, thanks, Kevin. One of the things that we want to also obviously mention is the mega site. There's information in there about the mega site. Of course, after we had the announcement that Toyota Mazda was going to Alabama, a lot of the news media obviously called me and called a lot of people in Greensboro and also the state. We never used the D word, which was disappointed. We used the O word, which is optimistic, because we know that that is an outstanding site, and we also know that every site selection consultant in the country knew what was going on with this particular selection. And even though they did go to Huntsville, we feel now that all the site selection consultants say this is going to probably be top of the list as far as industrial sites in the country. So we're going to continue to market that. We've already met with site selection consultants and met with them last week to talk about what we can do to continue to market that for, we have certain parameters, we have certain minimums essentially, and we're committed for the next several years not to divide that up into small parcels, but to go after that one large one that's going to make an impact not only for this region, but especially the eastern part of the county. For 2018, we look to have increased activity from our manufacturers, and manufacturing will still have a major presence, obviously, including the mega site. The diversification of our economy is always a goal. We want to do that. Education and workforce. Education and workforce, and education and workforce are the two key words in economic development in this day and age. That's what every company is looking for. Every community has sites and buildings. But the main thing is education and workforce. And our job is to make sure that we tell our prospects and our site selection consultants that we can handle whatever needs to be done, especially, through Randolph Community College. They can train anybody to do anything. And so that is obviously a priority for us. We're going to make a few changes. I mentioned about the website that we're going to be changing. That's going to be new and innovative. We're going to identify more sites. We're going to do our best to make sure that we market all those to the site selection consultants, especially the good sites that we have here in Ramseur and also the Ramseur immediate area, but also to try to identify more industrial sites too. And also we're going to make sure that all that is done electronically, that we have an electronic format on all of our sites. And we're going to focus on our workforce. We're going to focus on educational opportunities, our transportation, and also for our utilities, and also with all the communities in the county about the capacities that they have. And make sure that we take a look at all those capacities and make sure that we can handle what can be thrown at us on down the road. We'll also continue to work with the Piedmont Triad Talent Alignment. We invested heavily with that. That addresses the needs of the employers and also existing educational and also workforce issues. We're going to visit the site selection consultants and see them personally. Like I said, I've already been to Greenville to see them. And we're revamping our entire marketing strategy and what we're doing. So we just wanted to give you this report. Sorry it took a little bit longer than we thought it was going to. But if you would, and when you ever have a chance here, maybe the next day or so, if you would pick this up and read it, you see the information in there about our board of directors and all the good people that we have on our board of directors. As you know, our board meets every other month, and the executive committee meets every other month. And we also, something that I'm very proud that got started back in 1985 is that we rotate our board meetings to various towns and municipalities in the county. We just don't meet in one spot all the time. Last meeting we had was at Liberty, and then this month we're going to Randolph. So we'll be in touch about scheduling our meeting here. And I'll be glad to answer any kind of questions anybody has. I will tell you this, we appreciate the support that you provide to us. This is very, very important. And, it's something whenever we have not only all the municipalities in the county participating in helping us do what we do, we feel that obligation to make sure we do our best to pay it back in some way and best to work hard.
President Price, what impact do you see on our community coming from the loop going around Asheboro and the mega site coming in?
I think it's gonna be major, I really do. Talking about the 64 bypass around there, because, you know, as it stands right now, I still know a lot of people. I mean, my son lives in Durham, and sometimes he goes to Charlotte, and he takes 40 and 85, because he doesn't want to drive 64 and 49 down to Charlotte. He says sometimes it's just easier to do that. I think the bypass is gonna help a great deal, because, I mean, obviously, with the traffic that's right there on business, what will be soon Business 64, I would imagine, that's gonna have, I think, a major impact. So, the good thing about it is that we still have a little while before that road's finished, so we have a lot of time to prepare. And once again, that's focused on us too, to help you identify sites not only for industrial but also for commercial. I think that's going to be a big plus. I'm glad you asked that, because that's very important, and we need to keep our eyes on that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Spouse, welcome home. I appreciate your report. Take care of our home board.
Oh, we will. That's right. He has an easy drive home here in a few minutes. But I do appreciate y'all letting us go first. I'm sorry we don't have to stick around for the closed session and hang around. But because you have a great meeting, thank you very much.
Okay, thank
You
you.
told me you were gonna stay.
You gotta watch it. That's one thing I figured out. You gotta watch it.
We're going to go ahead and invite Mr. Tony Green to come up and speak to us before we go to executive session.
Yes.
Thank you guys so much for having me tonight. I not only want to speak to you guys for a few minutes, but I want to speak to you as well. I want to speak to you, and I'll be brief. I know I've seen your agenda, so I know you guys got a lot to do, so I won't hold you up too long. But I do want to talk to you about a serious volunteer need in Ramseur as well as Randolph County as a whole involving the Guardian Lighting Program. Again, my name is Tony Green. I'm the District Administrator for the Guardian Lighting Office for Randolph, Moore, and Montgomery counties. Is anybody familiar with the Guardian Ad Litem office? A lot of times when I go out and give, I know Bob is, and Grant, and yes sir, Mr. Cox, when I go out and give presentations, you get that little bit of a blank stare. And I have to admit, before I got involved, I knew a little bit about it, but I didn't know exactly what the program was. But back in 1983, our state government, our General Assembly, did something right. They created the Guardian Lighting Program. We're celebrating our 35th year this year, and in 1994, the program went statewide. We have over 5,000 trained volunteers in the state of North Carolina to be the voice for children in court. 5,000 is a lot of volunteers, that's a lot of people, but it's not enough. We represented over 17,000 kids in court last year. But the problem with that is there's over 2,000 children that went to court without a volunteer to advocate just for them. And that's what we're trying to change. We're trying to get out in our communities, make people aware of the program, let people know what they can do to help be a voice for children. And I've told you a little bit about the state numbers, but let's talk about Randolph County, where we're at here and now. We have, as of today, we have 109 children in Randolph County alone that our office is assigned to represent. Right now we have 35 volunteers. So you don't have to be real good in math to figure out that doesn't balance out real good. We need more volunteers to help. So I want to take just a few minutes, and I won't go in too much depth because I know you guys are pushed for time, but I want to tell you just a little bit about the opportunity you have to help with this program. Once the Department of Social Services takes out a petition that a child has been abused or neglected, our office is appointed by a district court judge to represent that child, to represent the best interest of that child. And we use volunteers to help us do that. A volunteer is an independent, a Guardian Lighting volunteer is an independent voice advocating just for the child. The parents have their attorneys, The Department of Social Services has their attorney. We are just for the child. We have an attorney as well. His name's Bill Mathers. I know a lot of you guys probably know Bill. I know Vicki does. He's been with our program for over 30 years. A wonderful attorney, does a great job representing our program. But we can't do it without volunteers. The volunteer is an independent voice for the child. A little bit of about what you do as a volunteer is you go meet the child. You go where the child's at. You go in the community. You meet the child. You develop a relationship with that child where that child feels comfortable with you to tell you what their wishes are. And in some instances, our volunteer is the only familiar face for a period of time that child may see. Children are moved from foster home to foster home, sometimes from school to school, and they just don't have that familiar face. If you think back when you were a child, if somebody took you away from your parents and placed you in an unfamiliar home, would you not want somebody that's going to be there for you, just for you, advocating for your best interest? And that's what a volunteer knows. You get to see the child. We do require that you see the child at least one time per month. Now, a lot of volunteers see the children more than once per month, but you have to see them at least one time per month. You dig for details. You try to find out what the child's needs are and what resources can help meet those needs. If the child's in school, you're talking with the teacher to see if things are going okay in school. If there are problems, maybe the child's having problems in reading or math, and maybe they need an individual education plan, or maybe it's something as simple as the child may need glasses. They can't see to read or they can't see to do math. If you visit the child and you see that there's maybe a medical need there that needs attention, that's something else that we can advocate for. Mental health, if you see the child needs counseling, a lot of these children do need counseling because they've been uprooted from everything they know and moved to something else. So, you're talking with therapists, you're interviewing the parents, you're talking with the parents, and the best outcome to every one of these cases that we would love to see is for the parents to do what they need to do to get that child back in their home, that child can live safely in that home, and that the parents can raise that child appropriately. The research shows foster parents are great, and they do a wonderful service and a great job, but all the research shows that child is going to be better off back in the home with their parents, if possible. Unfortunately, there's many times that's not possible because the parents won't take those steps to do what they need to do to get the child back in their home. But you talk to the parents, you talk to the social worker, you work with you don't work for the social worker, you work with the social worker to find out what they're doing in the case. And as I said, you talk to teachers and service providers. And once a volunteer is appointed on a case, you're given a court order. The district court judge signs a court order which gives you authority to look at medical records, to look at school records, to look at mental health records, and to speak with all these people involved. And once you've done all that, and once you've visited with the child, you complete a court report. That court report comes through our office and then eventually makes it to court. Sometimes when you say court report, people don't want any part of writing a report or being involved in a report. That's the easy part. The hard part is doing all your investigation, visiting the child, getting all the information. Our office will help you with the court report and we'll train you to do the court report, so don't let that be a hindrance to you. You also come to court. You're the child's voice. You come to court. You're essentially the judge's eyes and ears. You're an objective party. The parents are there. They're with their attorneys. DSS has their attorneys. You're there. You really don't have a dog in the fight. You're not related to the child. You're not going to know the child before you're assigned to be a volunteer for that child. You're just going to be an objective voice for that child's best interest. And you're the eyes and ears of the judge. You report to him what you found out. It's handed in on the court report. Sometimes the judges will have questions about the court report. And we always recommend what's in the best interest of the child. But one other thing we do is we always report to the court what the child's wishes are. And most of the time, the child's wishes are going to be what? go back home. No matter how bad it is, that child still wants to go back home. And we tell the judge that's what they want to do, but we also tell the judge, if that's not in the child's best interest, we're going to recommend something else. But we do report those wishes to the court. And as I said, you're not in court alone. Bill Mathers, our guardian ad litem attorney, is there. He protects the legal rights of the children that we represent, and he's also there to represent you and to help you as the court report is submitted to court. So that's it in a nutshell about what a volunteer does. I want to take just a couple more minutes to tell you what it takes to become a volunteer. And maybe you think, maybe that's something I can do, and that would be great. I'm going to leave some cards up here, and I'm going to leave some of my cards that's got my number, and I'm going to leave some cards that's got the website where you can look at the program more and find out more detail about the guardian ad litem program. But one thing it takes to become a volunteer is the state requires us to train you for 30 hours. 15 of those hours is online that you do at your own pace. 15 hours are in person that myself and my staff does. So once the 30 hours is completed, you have 6 hours that you have to observe court, just to see other volunteers in court, just to see how court runs. Once you do that, you're sworn in by a judge. You take an oath of confidentiality because all these cases are confidential. We can't talk about any specific cases. So you take your oath, and so that's the training part of it. 30 hours, 15 online, 15 hours in person. The time commitment, you may think, wow, this is going to take too much time for me. I've got a job. I'm on the Ramseur City Council. I don't have time. But the time commitment is not what you would think it would be. On an average case, it's going to be about 6 to 8 hours per month. Not per week, about 6 to 8 hours per month. And our cases tend to be front-end loaded. And what I mean by that, when a case first starts, there's a little more time involved, and as the case goes along, especially if the case is going at things are going okay, and it looks like things are going to go in a good direction, that time commitment is going to go down some. So 6 to 8 hours a month. A lot of the time can be done on weekends. It can be done after hours. It can be done by email and telephone. But again, we do require you, there is the requirement that you have to visit that child at least once per month, because if you're going to be a voice for that child, we want you to know that child, and we want you to make sure that you're spending time with the child to find out what they need. On a normal case, you're going to go to court about 4 to 5 times per year, and that's it. Court in Randolph County is held on Wednesdays. It starts at 9 o'clock and normally runs to 5. Sometimes it runs over. But if there's a reason that you can't be in court, myself or a staff member would sit in for you. If you're interested in this program, or if you have other questions about it, certainly pick up one of these cards. Go on, do a search, and look at the Guardian Ad Litem website. If you have further questions, certainly give me a call and let me know. But I'm going to leave this information here for you. And maybe you're here and you say, that's just not something I can do. And that's okay. But maybe you know somebody that can do it. Maybe you know somebody that has the time to do it. Pass one of these cards along to those folks that you think may be interested in the program. Because again, we have 100 and over 100 kids in Randolph County and 35 volunteers. So we certainly need volunteers in the Ramseur area and in all of Randolph County. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, well, thank you so much. I really appreciate the time, and thank you guys for inviting me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you sharing that.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Now, we'll go back up to old business. I would entertain a motion to go into closed session to discuss, property acquisition. Is there a second?
Second.
Moving second, any discussion? We'd like to have our attorney and the commissioners and our clerk to go with us. All in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed, likewise. We won't be long. I'm playing. Regular session now, so there's no action taken in our meeting. We just had some, back into regular session now. We'll go back to old business. I believe. B. Commissioner Holden, you have something on land division.
Mayor Shaw and board members, the meeting of September 11th, in public comment, I made the statement that the property on Fashee Road in 22, that this property be not up for surplus, and the town should not be spending taxpayers' monies to have this property surveyed, appraised, and advertised. But the property has been surveyed, and the town is awaiting the survey results. I also stated and had discussion and felt that the property should bring more than it was, than it brought. That's really, and to speed things up, Mayor, I would like to make a motion that we remove this piece of property, for it to be put in the records that we remove this piece of property from surplus and be voted on tonight.
Is there a second?
I'll second
Been moved and second that we remove the property on going Fashee Road and Highway 22 off the surplus and retain it to the town. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Any discussion?
Yes, I think we've already done that.
I have
No.
two, but I couldn't find it.
No, we did in public comment, but no vote. Any other discussion from the board? If not, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed likewise. That would be 3-1.
Can I speak?
No, sir, not right now. Okay, we move on into new business. Mr. Ray Albright, past achievements.
Back again. Okay, last time I spoke was a month ago. Mayor Shaw, board, I appreciate your time. And also those in the audience, I'm glad you're here. You need to be here. I requested to be on the agenda tonight, not to make a plea for civility, which we've already been over. What I really want to do, though, is give you all, and you all, a bit of history of Ramseur and the leadership of our town over the past several years, and some of the things that's been accomplished. Remember the old cliche that if you don't pay attention to your mistakes, you stand to repeat them. I would submit that just as important is to look back on successes and accomplishments and how and what you did to attain these accomplishments and successes. What really made me think that it's important to take a stroll down history lane, if you will, is the repeated references from the resolution to the mayor about what he could do, which I would like to read. It says, whereas our Ramseur charter does not delegate additional powers to the mayor in addition to those that the NC legislature delegate by statutes or charter. Unfortunately, a historical role reversal was gradually implemented by a former administration and allowed by former council members to create an autocratic type of leadership. Y'all can look that up if you'd like to, if you don't already know. Most of the town government's growing pains, here again I'm still quoting, most of the town government's growing pains, which I didn't realize, have been because this leadership style is no longer permissible and acceptable. Okay? Then in the last board meeting, Commissioner Caldwell again implied that previous administrations and boards had somehow sullied the idea of the mayor-commissioner relationships and roles. Then a private email, if you will, to our Watchdog 2, which is, everybody's familiar with that, the Facebook page. And by the way, I think that the Facebook page is potentially a good thing, which many times have been used to bring, but has many times have been used to bring more divisiveness to our town, particularly when they do it by private email and say stuff without anybody knowing who to talk to about that. An example, and I quote verbatim, the two former board members that spoke at the last board meeting, Mr. Lane and myself, and listen to this, these two former board members are responsible for some of the problems we now have with our water lines being so old. Do I need to read that again? Let's see. So this is an example of what I'm talking about instead of the positive. Now, not to blow our own horn, or my own horn, or anybody else's own horn, I would like to elaborate just a little bit. Going all the way back down to many years ago when we had a mayor named June Bean. June Bean was a full-time mayor. I'm talking about 7 days a week. He was on the job or thinking about something that he could do. And with him and working through the board, they came up with this far-reaching vision and saw a need for an adequate water supply for our town. A bond was negotiated and issued, and we now have our own Ramseur Lake. Yes, the Kermit G. Pell Water Facility. It's wonderful. It's great. It's beautiful. But somebody back then had the foresight, and at the time, I remember very well that there was a lot of people looking with jaundiced eye at such an idea. They went ahead with it anyway. Mayor Spivey, who came on board after Odell Cox was mayor, he was pretty much one of these autocratic mayors that you referenced. In that, he worked like crazy to do good things for the town with the board's blessing. It wasn't a yes group, and he had our blessings and our support. The board itself was closely involved, but Mayor Spivey did most of the legwork. I was there. The Ramseur watershed, speaking of Mayor Spivey, the Ramseur Lake watershed was one of his major concerns. And thanks to the work that he did with us, we still have a decent water supply up there without the algae bloom and the dead carcasses floating down and so forth. Because of this concern, he applied with the board's backing for a grant that would help us protect our water supply. Consequently, we bought up land and put up fences to keep the cows and other animals out of the Sandy Creek and its tributaries. If you don't believe it, go by Northeast Middle School and across the bridge there and look, and you'll see a fence up away from the water before they waded around in there all the time. We leased a buffer around the lake and its tributaries and went out and leased it and posted signs all over up and down the tributaries and the lake. Lots of work. We leased and subbed out the lake management to Barry Richardson before it had been a town employee who was the lake warden. Expensive, but not to the point that we thought we couldn't do better. Barry Richardson was hired, and he did a superb job. So much so that at this time there's a memorial youth fishing tournament held annually to this day honoring Barry Richardson. We ran water up 49 and out to Crestwick Road to serve some of the black community. We also replaced some existing 2-inch water lines up there so they would have decent water pressure. We ran water and sewer out 64 for 3 businesses that would locate there. Crawford Knitting, that you see sitting out there, was that one of those projects. Arden Cravats, another. We later extended the water line out to Eastern Randolph and sewer, and along with that, the residents along that route. We redid all the zoning areas of this town, R8, R4, and so forth. We went over that, did a complete study of that. We rewrote all the zoning ordinances. And the book that Elton has, the big book, that's it. Before, it was a little piece of paper about this big that you opened up and had written in and so forth, and up the margins and so forth. That was our zoning ordinance book. We negotiated with the town of Ramseur, town of Franklinville, and subsequently drew up a contract to supply them with from our large water supply. We still do that. We end up selling the water to Franklinville. Franklinville's sending it on up to Providence Grove in northeast middle school. We renegotiated a bond that was passed to pay for the water reservoir and saved over $100,000 at that time just for the renegotiation. Jerry Ledwell, Jay's dad, was on the board here. He drew up and planned out all the water lines in the town of Ramseur. Nobody knew anything about where they were, so I don't know how he did it. I'm not an engineer. But he redrew the water lines so that anybody that came in, new and different, would at least have something to go on rather than just having to go back and look for it. We worked with Ramtex, who's no longer there, but it's not our fault. We gave them a $60,000, I think it was, incentive because they were wanting to put in $1.5 million, which I couldn't believe that, $60,000 compared to $1.5 million is peanuts. But we did that. We don't know that we had that much money to do it with, but we did it. And they subsequently put it in, and they were successful, and we kept them here probably 2 or 3 years at least because of that one thing. The above examples of the accomplishments show what can be done by working together, by respecting one another, and not being concerned about whose idea it was and making decisions based on that. Some of the former commissioners that were so lax, some of you may know some of them. One of them just left, Kevin Franklin. We had Mark Whitehead, who is now president of Bank of Carolina, Carolina Bank up in Asheboro. We had Jerry Ledwell. We had Derek Hodgen, who was a forensic engineer, who is now a mayor in a town just outside Clemson, South Carolina. We had Mayor Shaw on that board. We had Rudy Klein, who was a public relations executive with Ramtech. So it was a varied and what I considered a fairly talented board that was there. But the main thing that we did was we put aside, nobody cared who brought it up or who's got where and whatever. We didn't worry about that. If Mayor Spivey came in and said, guys, listen, what do you think about us putting in a grant for this grant that we have and so forth, it's going to do this and so. We didn't say, well, that's not within your responsibility because of ordinances here. We said, go for it. And if you take what he did, he moved the town forward as much as anybody that I've ever known, except maybe June Bean way back then. And it was more involved when he was here. So, with that in mind, and with all the back and forth that we have here, of who's going to do what and so forth, we see the accomplishments here that we can do, working together. You guys can do it, and girls. So you know, I present this so you can maybe have something to compare the times with. What have we accomplished? What do we hope to accomplish? Who has taken the responsibilities that the Mayor Spivey took and that Mayor Shaw might? And no, he can't. He no longer has those. Who's looking after the grants and all that stuff that we so depended on Spivey for? We did some of it. We redid the playground equipment over to the athletic field, which, by the way, we had a strong athletic program too. It was subbed out, I suppose you could call it. We had tournaments over there. Couldn't get off of the Brooklyn Avenue extension because of the tournaments that went all weekend. So, what are our plans for our infrastructure? What are we going to do to talk about it? What can we do to make these old pipes not so old? There's a myriad of things that have been done. There's even more things that need to be done. And I challenge you, and I challenge these folks here to see what we can do to make a positive contribution to our town. We need to do that, and we need to do it sooner rather than later. Now, I really appreciate at least the mayor is not saying, your 3 minutes is up. Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Albright. Mr. Albright came to me and asked me if he could speak tonight. I didn't know what all he was going to speak about. I said, you want on the regular agenda, or you want to be put on public comment? He said, well, I need some time. So I said, okay, you can get on the regular agenda. So my comment to you, sir, would be, I didn't conjure you to come here tonight, but you brought out some points that we all need to take into consideration as a town. We all need to work together. Not myself, just these commissioners, we all as a town. And I appreciate your comments.
Thank you.
Anyone else have anything to say, Mr. Albright? If
Appreciate your
not,
service in the past, Ray.
I beg your pardon?
Appreciate your service in the
I didn't
past.
hear that.
Appreciate your service in the past. Well, I didn't say, you hear it, Bill.
all right, we'll move on into the next item of business, which will be letter sweep. Here again, if you ride around town very much, and I've been accused of riding too much, but I'm retired, and I work part-time at school, I do a lot of riding. The trash in town on our streets is beyond pathetic. I went on Honeywood Road, the area I live in, a couple of weeks ago, picked up 3 large bags of trash been thrown out. I'm talking about fast food chains, beer bottles, whiskey bottles, just absurd. What I want to do, we always have litter sweep in Hastings, March, April every year. But I would like to know if anyone that's interested, I have the bags, I have the gloves, and I have the vest in my office that can't be able to do. You're welcome to pick them up. If you're out here walking on the streets, take them with you and pick up some trash. That being said, I would also like to schedule a day where we all meet, if it would be possible, to go out and do a litter sweep sometime this month. Maybe this coming Saturday, I don't know. Saturday's maybe not a good time for some people. Some people will have a business downtown they're doing, but if you can't do it on Saturday, maybe you can do it sometime during the week. I would like to have some input from the board and what would you like to do? Brooklyn Avenue, Mr. Isaac, Commissioner Isaac, Ray Isaac used to be a commissioner, he kept it up pretty good. I try to keep King Hill and Honeywood Road, but King Hill Apartments, and I'm gonna throw off on King Hill Apartments, because that's where that trash came from. We need some police, I know they can't sell or watch them, but, it's just got completely out of hand. If you ride up King Road from Highway 64 to where it comes out of 49, I bet you, I'd be willing to say, I ain't gonna bet you, but I'd be willing to say, I can go up there right now and pick up 5 garbage bags full of trash that people have just chunked out. Last year when I did it, I went on Facebook, I gave McDonald's the #1 priority for the most trash. It would be nice if the people riding around throwing out trash would put a little bag in their vehicle just to set it in until they get home. But we don't do that. So anyone that wants to help, I'm gonna be here Saturday. I'll be here at 10 o'clock Saturday. If you wanna volunteer some free time, or just come by and pick up some bags, come by and help me out.
You know, we'll rain makeup day.
Rain makeup day will be the following Saturday, 10 o'clock. I used to do it at 8 o'clock, but some people don't get up that early on Saturday mornings. And so, if you want to help out, see me after the meeting tonight. I'll give you some bags. If not, come down and help us out Saturday if you can. Okay? And then in April, we'll probably have a litter sweep state of Carolina. We'll do a proclamation. But right now it's got so bad, we have to do something. Okay?
Can I ask one question? Am I allowed to on the trash?
Pardon me?
Can I ask a question about the trash?
Is it permissible for the board for him to
Well,
speak?
you kind of,
I'd like to hear what you say.
Yeah, go ahead.
before you made the comment like the police department do something, which I own a business, I had to pick up trash on my business that didn't come from me. As where I don't really think the police department should, but as far as the town, if I own my property and I don't clean my trash up, should it not be the town's responsibility to send them a letter, fine them? I mean, and nothing's wrong with us all getting together and going out and picking up trash. But I guess what I'm trying to say is, we're all adults, it's time to send them a letter, and if they don't clean it up, get in the pocketbook and the problem will get solved.
Yeah.
I mean, that's, you know.
We can do that. We haven't done that in the past, I don't reckon, but then, you know, we do have a littering policy. You know, see somebody throw something out.
Right, but I mean, if you don't see it and it's on your property.
Now, that would have to come through the clerk's office, because I don't sign any documents to that effect, but I'm sure if a complaint is turned in, we can follow up on it. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
If that's okay with the board. I'm speaking.
There's several houses out there that seem to use their driveways as garbage cans, and it gets caught up in the wind tunnel, and it doesn't matter which side of the river it's on, it just blows, so.
Yeah. So maybe we can start picking up some trash. Anyone have anything else on that? Right.
The unauthorized use of the dumpster over at the park, the Leonard Park, now through the month of December and last month, that was awful. The dumpster was full, then they would come in and just throw stuff behind, beside the dumpster inside the closure. And, you know, we check it every chance we get, but, you know, I don't know if it would be feasible for the town to put a lock on that closure or something to keep people from coming down there and just, looks like mostly household trash. It's cleaned up right now. I know who cleaned it up, but it looks good right now, but up to about last week, it looked pretty rough in there. That's it.
Republic Services, you know, picks up that dumpster for us and cleans it out. And that dumpster was put over there for recreational purposes when they had ball games. I don't know why we need it though. You know, the town, we have our own separate garbage cans over there at the shelters. You know, if worst comes to worst, we could have the dumpster moved until such time we have activity over there, but I know what you're talking about. I said it a lot often myself.
Can we not put a lock on the dumpster?
Well, I'm just gonna ask, they don't like to
They
get
don't
out
like
of
it,
the truck
he's in the driver,
and
will
unlock
have to
it.
get out when he's there by himself to unlock it and then make sure it's locked
They
back.
won't back up and get it and
They
done.
just go over there and sling it over the top then.
Yeah.
It'd be a real mess.
If we find some trash in that dumpster with somebody's name and address on it, can they be charged for littering?
Yeah.
Need to sign it.
Yeah,
And the
but
dumpsters.
the thing of it is,
It's put there for purpose.
to find out if they're live within the city limits of the town, what's the posture on that? Whereas if they live out in the county and then bring it back and put it in there.
We don't have anybody living in town that would do something like that.
No, you're right. You're exactly right.
We'll keep an eye on it and see what we can do, but that's all I want to say on litter now, but help us out if you can. If you
I was
can.
just saying, it's not fair to the citizens of the town to pay for litter removal for somebody that lives down in Coleridge or out in town somewhere. That's what I'm saying.
All right, you want some bags, send me when we leave tonight. All right, the next item is the record retention and disposition schedule.
Y'all all got the question and answers, and you saw where I have to sign. I called the state archives office this week. They're supposed to come and schedule a visit to help me get rid of some of the records that are from the sixties and the eighties, and help me clean up the storage room. She advised me that we have only accepted the 2002 record retention. So we need to update and adopt the 2012. So that's really all that's it. I didn't print everybody a copy of this because it was 231 pages, but if you want to see what it consists of, I have a copy for the office.
Did y'all get a chance to look at this folder?
Yes, sir.
What would be pleasure of the board?
I still move that we adopt this, soon as we get it adopted, soon as we get the records cleaned up.
A second.
There's a second, accept this for record retention schedule. Is there any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Police report for January, Commissioner Cox.
So the police had 147 911 calls, had 3 hours of court time and 48 hours of training time. There's also a correction to the report on a suicide threat, be one. There's no change to the total of 911 calls.
Okay. Motion accepted.
I'll make a motion to accept the report as given.
Move to second, any discussion? If no discussion, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Budget amendment for fire department. Mayor Shaw. ordained by the Board of Commissioners of Town of Ramseur, North Carolina, met in regular session on Monday, February 5th, 2018. The following funds was voted on by the Board of Commissioners to remove funds of $2,500 from the Fire Department miscellaneous expense to Fire Department EMT expense accounts. This ordinance and amended budget document shall be the basis of the financial plan of the Town of Ramseur government during the 2017-2018 fiscal year. The budget officer, as administered the budget and amendments, shall ensure the operation of the town's budget to be sufficient for appropriation portion of the 2017-2018 budget. Due to the high volume of calls and full loss of fire department, the need for this amendment is to move funds to pay EMT med calls for the volunteer firemen. I would entertain a motion to accept
Mayor, I
this.
just changed one word in that, okay, I didn't tell Bobby, just instead of remove funds, just, I'd use the word transfer.
Do what?
Transfer,
Transfer funds.
right, from the miscellaneous to the EMT.
All right, the last sentence, transfer.
The right, this first paragraph.
Okay.
Instead of remove funds, 2,500, just get transfer, I think that, that's what she,
It also says remove it to the bottom, the last sentence, you see that? It should be transferred also, right?
yeah, that's fine, transfer, it's just.
Okay, I would entertain a motion to accept this budget amendment with the changes that we made.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed likewise, motion carries. Expenses for the fire department. Commissioner Cox.
Fire department had, $1,925 worth of expenses. And then we go to training hours. Training hours, too.
Yeah.
193 training hours, 43 calls, 1 fire alarm, 14 service calls, 24 medical calls, and 4 vehicle accidents. And I make a motion that we approve the minutes and the expenses.
1925.
I so move to accept this.
Move the second that we pay $1,925 total for the Ramseur Fire Department expenses. Is there any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed likewise. Motion carries. Old patrol car, Commissioner Cox.
We have an old patrol car that, is not being used by the police department anymore. It was gonna be used for a medical vehicle for the fire department. They had sent it to the garage and the mechanic says it's gonna cost more in hours trying to trace down a short, that causes the car to cut off. So I'll just entertain the motion that we, convert that over to surplus property.
Also move that we, move that to surplus.
I'll second.
Move the second, we declare the old patrol car surplus. Is there any discussion?
Are we gonna sell it?
If you declare it surplus, you put it up for bid, right?
And we decide which way we're gonna do it, seal bids, close, upset bids, or can we set an amount and just? I think,
Seal bid with a
really
cutoff
and truly, however we can do it without advertising it in the paper would be our best bet, because otherwise we're gonna go in the hole on this.
Yeah.
I don't think we can do it without advertising.
You follow statute.
Follow statutory guidelines, same deal with others.
It's gonna cost us more to get rid of it than we get out.
I know, that's,
Should we just junk it now?
If you jump, yes, Larry.
Mr. Mayor, just prior to this taking place, there's some items that need to be gotten out of the car before it's cut loose to the public.
Okay. Let's table this to next month and see what our alternatives are. If we have to advertise it, all this other stuff, it's gonna cost us more than probably around the cost, so. I would entertain a motion that we table, we remove the motion before the board.
So,
Second. Any discussion? If not, the motion that we just had on the floor is rescinded. Now,
Table, I make a motion to table this till next month.
okay, is there a second?
Second.
Move the second to the table of the old patrol car till next month. Any discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed, likewise. Motion carries. Commissioner Lamberry is not here tonight, so I don't know anything about it.
He's in the hospital again.
Pardon?
He's in the hospital again.
Oh, is he? So,
Well, he went to the hospital this morning, I'm assuming that he's still there.
so we'll wait till next month on that. Water and sewer expenses, Commissioner Cheek.
Just on that, I mean,
Expenses. Park Recreation Concert Fall Festival, Commissioner Cobb.
You know, I like to keep everything all together. First off, I kind of wanted to apologize for the meeting that we had the other day. Seemed to get out of hand a little bit, and I think that I want to say thank you to everybody that showed up. I believe that everybody that showed up had great intentions of working together and bringing some great positive thoughts to our community. I was kind of taken back at some of the things that were said, especially about the approval of the committees. I did do a little research. I asked for some clarification on that, and it's my understanding that I do not have to have board approval for a committee, as long as it's not what they call an official committee of the unit of government. It's the way I look at this, and what is presented in this UNC School of Government, it's from a blog by Freda Bluestein. Bluestein. But then I thought too, the committees that I wanted to form are kind of formal in the fact that I've been delegated the authority by being assigned the area of service. Now, I'm guessing that I'm gonna have some resistance to this, as I usually do. But it's kind of confusing, but it is my take that I can form these committees. And I really want these committees to be successful. And I appreciate everybody that's come out there. So I would like to have another committee meeting this coming Monday. If everybody is agreeable to, I will ask Madam Clerk if she would post that on the doors, on the website by Wednesday, so we can, or Thursday, so we can have it on Monday. That's the week before the.
Here's what you got to do.
Okay.
Did everybody get a copy of this? It's a pretty good little something. And what it says is, create committees is generally the responsibility of the governing board, okay? But the board can delegate to an individual or group its authority to make or create appointments to committees. Now, does that mean a council person or commissioner can't create a committee? No, they can do it, but it's not recognized as an official committee of the unit of government. So, the board has to approve that. If they delegate the authority to a board member, they can do a committee. And why is that important? Because committees are treated as a separate public body, and they gotta follow open meeting. If they're meeting informally, there's nothing illegal for a board member to have a little town hall meeting or something, but it's unofficial. It's something they're doing on their own behalf, that they wanna do. And it's not an official committee of the board. The key is, if the board creates a committee, it then falls within the province of the open meetings law. And it is a recognized public body, and that's what's important. So the board needs to make a decision how they want to treat this. they can appoint committees, or they can delegate to an individual, or it said individual or group, its authority to create or make appointments to committee, okay? So I think you really need to be clear on that, and not something that's inferred or implied because of the simple statement that she puts in the article, that a committee created or under the authority of the governing board is itself a separate public body under the Open Meetings Law and is subject to notice and transparency requirements of that law. And the other thing I noted in here that was good, she's saying, well, what if you've got a 5-member, and that's ironic, 5-member city council appoints a committee and it's got 2 of the board members on it, and a 3rd board member shows up to observe. He said, isn't that violating the official meeting or the open meetings law? And she said, not necessarily. She said, other members of council are free to attend a meeting, a committee meeting, as spectators. The key is they don't participate in the meeting, and they're not participating in the dialogue. They're just spectators. Then they're not violating those meetings. Does everybody understand the difference? So what you got is the board can create it, or they can delegate it to a commissioner or even a group, its authority to make appointments. And it's kind of, you need to do that if they're going to be recognized as an official committee of the town.
But if we want to hold unofficial,
It doesn't, it says you can do that. The unofficial committee, not created by a board, would not automatically be entitled to receive support or recognition from the unit of government, but is still free to meet, provide information and recommendations to the board. That's the last sentence on the first page.
She's not trying to create like a board, alcohol board or nothing. She just wants a committee to give input for her recreation department or whatever.
In the committee, totally different from volunteers. Say, for instance, if she says she's gonna want volunteers, then she can just say, I'm gonna have a meeting today, anybody wanna volunteer can come up here. And therefore, it wouldn't take the board to approve anything. But if you want to create committees and stuff, it's gonna take some board input, because if you're creating committees,
what she doing, if you really, I don't know if you got this or not.
yeah.
It says an unofficial committee not created by the authority of the governing board is free to meet and make recommendations, but it's not a public body, it's not a recognized board entity.
Recommendations to the board.
They can. They say it's still free to meet, and they can provide information or recommendations to the board, but it's not a public creative committee that's recognized by the town. And that's a little different.
My take on it, she's going to have a committee to give her input that she can bring to the board. They're not, it's not a committee of them making decisions to do something or not to do something. It's just for their input to give to her to bring to the board.
That last paragraph.
Well, that's not the understanding I got, because that might be where I'm confused, because what I took the other day from the thing that it was gonna form committees, and they was gonna oversee, what take place at the lake, what take place at the fall festival.
I don't believe that the board would have to delegate authority if they're gonna take any kind of action.
Yeah, and that's what went on at that meeting after that.
Right. Well, I want you to understand the distinction.
Anybody else got anything to say about it? What do you think about it, Danny?
I see where Bob's coming from, and I know Commissioner Collins won't get these programs on the way, and we need it. My thing, take on the whole deal is, if someone wants to come up, let's just over me down on the street, we won't talk about having a concert at the lake. Discuss it, you know, bring that idea back to Commissioner Collins, over the Parks and Recreation, because that's in her department. Or come in the office and say, Mayor, I got something I'd like to bring to the town. I'd like to have a concert, some concerts at the lake. Tell me your ideas, take it to Commissioner Collins, that's her department. As volunteers, not as a committee. A volunteer can just explain any situations they want to without board approval as a volunteer. This might be my take on it. When you form a committee, what I read, the mayor and commissioners may create such committees of the board for special purposes as they deem best. Now, that tells me, or I understand, that committees have to have board approval.
Well, she's saying you can have an unofficial committee that's not recognized as it's not created by the authority of the board.
What would be the
But it
difference?
doesn't receive support or recognition from you, from the board.
What would be your terminology, the difference between a committee and a volunteer group? What's the difference?
The committees would be made up of volunteers, so a
The
committee.
crowd we had here tonight were volunteers.
Correct,
And you want to form a separate committee for each one to go into.
Correct.
And that would have to have board approval, wouldn't it?
No, sir.
Huh?
No, I do not agree. It's not, it's an organization is what's the purpose of the committee. The committee is not gonna go out and solicit funds on behalf of the town. The committee's not gonna go out and do anything that would require board approval, without board approval. However, we are gonna meet together to discuss ideas.
And that needs to be done.
So they'd be making, just a recommendation. Group. Recommendation.
It's really not
That
that
hard.
hard. I mean, and what happened the other night was just pretty much unacceptable, and I'm hoping that we don't ever have that again.
I don't have a problem with it as long as it falls within the guidelines, but it has to be stuff within your department. I'm speaking on one issue in there. You put the fall festival in there, and that doesn't fall under your department.
Again,
And I think that needs to stay as it is because we're just getting the fall festival back on, but this whole board work with volunteers. I don't think that's something you should add to your thing, but we still take volunteers as far as help. But we're just getting that fall festival back up and going after 2 years and stuff. And I think it needs to stay as a whole, that this board work on that together.
okay,
Because he said, like if we have a meeting and stuff, if 2 board members on there, a third one come, they can't have any input in that.
unless it's advertised as a public meeting. But this is what I want to show you, Commissioner Chief, and this has been provided to us in our last several packages. This is my budget. It says right here, Recreation Department. It says right here, Fall Festival.
You looking down at the breakdown?
And at the bottom, it says total expenditures in the recreation. This is the Recreation Department budget. The concerts are listed right here. The Fall Festival is listed right here.
But the difference is.
Can I
the
explain
con-
that?
Yeah.
The auditors told me to put it with the 40s, only because it has a separate account. It is actually not part of recreational funds.
Well,
It
it's
is
in,
listed on there because you have the activities that you would, like the concerts, because that's what you mainly pay out of the Fall Festival. However, that is its own separate account. That is completely separate from your rec budget.
It don't get any funding from the town, the Fall Festival don't. It's not budgeted within our yearly,
There's
budget.
no revenue moved from
Right.
Parks and Rec into the Fall Festival account. It brings its own revenue and it has its own expense account. It's completely separate.
I understand that, but it's still under the Fall Festival.
Right, because it had, it was under 40.
And my other question on that is, Commissioner Chief, I think I can handle this.
I'm not saying that you couldn't, but it needs to.
Please let me finish.
Okay.
The committee, which would include all the commissioners, would also include you. I'd like to take care of this committee as I'm taking care of the other committees, with the understanding that you will be up here during the day taking in calls from vendors, that the funds are going directly to the town, and that we should all work together. And bringing a committee from the public, from the people that want to be involved in building this fall festival, cannot be negative. So can we not agree that the commissioners all work together, but that I have a good handle on this? Is there a reason, a specific
No,
reason?
I don't understand. It doesn't fall under your department, which you have certain areas, you have the concerts, and you have the fishing tournament, and you have other things going on. And that right now needs to be your main focus and stuff. The fall festival is really taking care of itself right now, and that's something, when we get more into it, then yeah, we can get volunteers and stuff like that, and get to work on it. I don't think it's something that we have to jump on right away and have to be included in your packet.
Well, I mean, it's not gonna hurt to work on that, and you're right, I do have several
Because-
things that are on my book, but I think you do too, and it doesn't fall under the water and sewer department, so we can all work together. Do you not agree?
I'm not saying that we can't work together, I just don't think it should be a part of that. And that's something we can come back and revisit. Right now, our main focus is getting the lake open, and you got concerts coming up and stuff like that, and I think that's where our main focus need to be, and we've got time for the fall festival.
Which brings me to my next subject of the lake board, and I believe we need to set a specific meeting for the commissioners so we can review the application. We have several in, is that correct? Three? And since we're supposed to be opening the lake up in less than a month, are you guys available to meet?
Is the deadline for applications passed?
As of last week in class, you do not have to advertise for 10 days, so whenever y'all ready to look at
Where did this come
applications.
from, 10 days?
I don't know, that's what I
That's
was
what we've
told
always
when I got here, but they stated in that class last week, you do not have to advertise. It's good to advertise, but you do not have to advertise, so at any point you're ready to review the
Sooner
application.
the better, Vicky, you need those money March 1st.
I'm ready.
And we're already getting, I think I've told you this in the past, we're getting calls from bands and stuff, and I told them that that's your department and stuff, because they're saying they're getting booked up and they kind of need to know some dates. That's why I'm saying if we could get those things worked out, then we can always come back to the focus, because it's not till October and stuff. Our main focus is getting that lake open
Okay,
and
again, can we set a meeting for review of the application?
Well, you can have it'll be a open meeting, you should call for executive session of personnel. You can do that,
When's the first time available is convenient for y'all?
in the morning, 9 o'clock.
That's funny.
Well, you asked.
Well, I know in the past, correct me if I'm wrong, like you would come in and you look at the applications and stuff and make recommendations to the
1,
board.
2, or 3.
I cannot come in Monday through
No,
Friday.
no,
I have to put
we're
it
not
somewhere.
saying- we're not saying
What he's
that
saying is,
Friday.
everybody get a copy of the applications.
You-
Look them over and assign a number. I like this is number 1, 2, number 3.
Mhm.
Then you come together and say, okay, here's what we
Can
want.
we email those out, or do they have to be printed off?
It would be better if they're printed so I can get them back and shred them,
Yeah.
all the extra copies.
Can you print them and put them in our boxes? Can we set a meeting? So we can talk about it? My evening schedule is clear.
I'm busy this week, but my evening schedule's clear.
You have 48 hours.
Randy, Grant, do you have any time that you're not available? Well, we have to have 48 hours anyway. Thursday, next Monday, Wednesday,
You said in the evening, I'll be here.
how about, can we do it Thursday? What time would you all be good with? 5:30, 6:30? We,
Earlier the better for Bobby, right?
does Bobby have, do you have to be here? We can take notes for you.
No, I have to be here.
Thursday at 5:30? Dave,
Perfect.
Grant, 6? Well, I was looking for her to have not, have to wait. 6. How many can be here Thursday at 6 o'clock? Raise your hand. How many can be here? Thursday at 6 o'clock, all right?
So if you could get those in our boxes so we can review them prior to then,
I'll do it tomorrow morning.
thank you very much.
48-hour notice, and you'll be good to go. Huh? What? Yeah, okay. Anything else, Vicki?
No, just making sure we got that on the agenda, or that we can get that advertised for Monday, just in case we have, more than one commissioner that wants to show up to serve on the committees. Thank you, ma'am.
We need to go back, I won't go back, but we need to take up the volunteer fire department fund grant. I already have a copy of it in the packet. Commissioner Cox, you wanna go through that?
Jay, you want to come up and tell us about the grant?
2018 volunteer fire department fund grant, we'll recognize Chief Jay Ledwell in this grant.
This might be the first time some of y'all have seen this. It's a grant that we've been funded on several times in the past. Got a little history of it here for you. It's offered by the North Carolina Department of Insurance to the Office of the State Fire Marshal, funded by tax premiums paid by licensed insurers. The purpose is to assist fire departments in purchasing equipment and making capital expenditures. Fire departments match the grant on a dollar-for-dollar basis up to $30,000, which would be our case, unless the department receives less than $50,000 in municipal funding, and we know that's not us. Eligibility criteria are service a population of less than 12,000. Department is all volunteer with the exception of up to 6 paid positions, and the department is recognized as a registered certified department by the North Carolina Department of Insurance. Of course, we meet all that criteria. Applications are reviewed and scored using a non-subjective point system. Areas evaluated are all volunteer or paid positions, population served, number and age of fire department vehicles, financial status, type of equipment being requested. Time applications are received, the information is entered into the database and stored. This then, until the money is exhausted, the grants are awarded. The grant has to be, it's totally online, has to be submitted no later than March 1 of this year, and will be notified on 15 May if we receive the grant or not, if we're allowed to apply for it. The things we want to apply for is a DeWalt 20-volt 5-tool combo sets, $460. 4 pagers, $400 a piece, that's $1,600. 4 pass devices, those are $510 a piece, that's $2,040. 4 sets of turnout gear, that's $24.50 a set, $9,800. And 2 2.5-gallon water extinguishers, which are $125 a piece, that's $250. Total is $14,150. If we're allowed to apply for this grant, are funded by the fire department would pay $7,075, and the Department of Insurance would pay the matching $7,075. Equipment and invoices must be submitted to the Department of Insurance by September 2018. Therefore, if we apply for the grant, we can budget for it in the 2018-19 budget. So it's not anything that we would have to change now. Anybody have any questions about the other?
Yeah, I make a motion that we approve for apply for the grant.
Second.
We just second to apply for the 2018 volunteer fire department fund grant. Any discussion? We did this on numerous years in the past.
We've been successful on this grant several times in the past.
Free money is hard to turn down.
It is. It's opportunity to buy stuff for half price, basically.
Right.
And there's no guarantee, but it is an opportunity. Between the state, this particular state grant and 2 federal grants that we've received, the fire department's been funded to the tune of about $400,000 in free funds. So.
Any other discussion? If not, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed, likewise. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Judge. Mayor and commissioner comments. Any commissioner having comments that will make tonight?
I do. When we were at the school last week, one of the things I thought was a really good idea, one of the other mayors suggested that he has his public comment period in the beginning, just like we do, to discuss things that are put on the agenda. And then at the end of the meeting, he also offers a public comment period for people to discuss issues that were brought forth during the meeting. And I would like our board to consider that, maybe we could vote on that next month.
You can put it on the agenda for discussion. Any other commissioner have any more comments? If not, in that same line, Commissioner Cottle, I'd like to see the board, we always talk about surprise agenda items when we meet, on board meeting night. I would like the board, which again, we can discuss it in the next board meeting. I would like the board to consider meeting at 6:30 on meeting nights, the board, to discuss items on the agenda, so maybe we can have a good, clear vision of what's gonna happen and what everybody has on their mind prior to the meeting. Just food for thought. We'll talk about it next month's board meeting, but to me, come in here and sit down and I do it, we all do it. You got something on the agenda, we don't talk to each other until it's time to vote on it. So if we have an opportunity prior to that meeting to discuss some of these issues, it'll make it a lot more clear to all of us. And I think we'll get along a lot better that way. Okay? Plans, announcements, the plan is on the board, will be meeting on February 19th at 7 p.m. I would entertain a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
Any discussion, if not, all in favor of the motion, raise your hand. All opposed, likewise. Thank you, people, for being with us tonight. See you next month.